How are broadband providers simplifying their pricing plans? That's what we'll be talking about on this episode of the Story Connect podcast. My name is Andy Johns, your host with Pioneer, and I'm joined on this episode by Jeff Chrzanowski, who is the product strategist with HTC in South Carolina. Jeff, thanks so much for joining me.
Andy, good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Thanks for being on. I ran across this, the fact that you guys were changing up your pricing plans. Of course, HTC being, I believe, still the biggest telephone cooperative in the country. Folks kind of pay attention to whatever y'all are doing. And I ran across the fact that y'all were changing up your pricing plans and thought it was worth the conversation. I'm glad to have you on because I think folks will be paying attention. But let's talk through it. So you guys are shifting to where you are primarily just be offering a 1 gig and then eventually a 2 gig product, and that's it in terms of pricing and speed plans, right?
Absolutely. So April 1st of this year, HTC went to a starting at 1 gig internet. Any members coming on, any new folks signing up automatically, there's nothing below that. 1 gig is the starting speed. If available in their area, 2 gig is available. It is not rolled out footprint wide yet. We should close that gap well before the end of this year. But there's too much going on and too much new and too much happening to stay at the lower speeds. So it was the right time. We've got a fiber network. We needed to do it.
Now we've been keeping up with at Pioneer. We kind of keep up with the broadband provider that has the most packages, and the clubhouse leader right now is one, I won't say who, but they had 17 different packages because they've just kept on some of those older plans that were from the copper days, and I know that operationally it holds them back. You look at something even like the broadband labels, they had to come up with 17 different labels. What operationally, marketing, communications, operationally, what advantages have there been for y'all to make this move to make it so much simpler to just have the 2 main speed packages?
Well, there's something to be said about the paradigm of choice, right? If you only have one offering, it's a take it or leave it. Multiple offerings, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know that I'd want to have 17 and have to manage 17 and train my customer service and folks and everything to be able to answer all those questions. But when it came time to do that, we were a 3-tier shop. And I'm not going to say that someday we won't again be a 3-tier shop where we're down the road when 5 or 10 gig becomes available. But it was time to simplify, go ahead and get rid of the 500 for new members. Everybody that was on our tier 2 at 750 automatically rose to a gig. We did not change their price. We brought that up so that to move forward, there's less to maintain. There's needs for both members, customers to folks who aren't a cooperative. Will tell you what they need, and then you've got the product and the solution for them.
Now, I've always thought y'all have a really interesting service territory because you've got the coastal folks kind of in the Myrtle Beach area, a lot of higher income, affluent folks there on the coast. You've also got some inland areas, quite a bit of folks on more the inland spot with it, more spread out, less dense, less densely populated, and then the economy is not quite what it is there on the coast. So it's an interesting test case that you guys have a couple of different groups there. How has the response been? Are folks getting it? Are they liking it? Are they understanding? What has the response been from folks as you guys have rolled this out?
You bring up a great point, right? So the beauty of this area, and we're blessed to live here, you can be from the beach to the farmland within 15 minutes.
Sure.
You go west of the waterway and it doesn't take long before you're in farmland. There's a lot.
Unless it's spring break. I have been through there at spring break. You're not getting anywhere in 15 minutes at spring break near Myrtle Beach.
You're right. I am talking off season.
Okay.
The folks who have been here generationally, folks who are west of the waterway, off the beach, farmland. Look, you've got folks, families who have been here, 5 generations, 100, 150 years. They They grew up here. Those same folks are going to need, if they don't need it today, are going to need the broadband speeds that the internet we provide offers. Farmers are some of the most tech savvy people out there these days. Between the weather apps, the sprinkler, irrigation systems and things like that, just because they're in the country doesn't mean that they're not living the tech life that we have become accustomed to.
Good point. So you've got both of the audiences, and it sounds like it's a good fit for the folks inland as well. Nobody's complaining. Nobody has any issues so far with just having the two options or not having slower speeds or anything like that so far?
I'll answer that with a question. When was the last time you had somebody call up and say, hey, I'd rather have a slower speed? Don't you have anything slower? Come on, Andy, I don't need all that speed.
Not going to happen.
No, the industry, the life demands that, everyone's increasing their speed. It's an education piece, without a doubt. We've got folks that will say, well, why do I need a gig? Well, you may not today in your house, but you may tomorrow. And it's priced competitively with the other offerings in the market. So why wouldn't you have that? So there's some education that needs to go on. No complaints. Having that as a symmetrical offering and explaining to people why that's important absolutely helps. But the reception so far has been very good.
Good. Anytime that, and you guys are not strangers to kind of being on the leading edge of making changes in the industry. So it may not have been quite as difficult for y'all, but anytime you are kind of doing something out of the ordinary, and I think at this point, we can still consider this being out of the ordinary. I mean, to have the lowest speed, it's easy for folks to internally to have naysayers or people that, are out of alignment. What has it been like? I guess kind of who was driving the conversation to do this, and then how have y'all gone about getting leadership involved, and then all the way down to, customer service, member services folks, everybody aligned and on the same page for a big change like this?
Well, I think all the bruises have healed me from the battles that I took with leadership.
All right.
The great thing about HTC is we've got some fantastic leaders. We are a conservative co-op that's forward thinking, but everybody's got their own idea. Everybody's got their own vision. And when we brought this up, and the challenge of condensing offerings but raising speeds, it really took some time to get everybody on the same page. The great thing again about this co-op is it's about conversations, some of them easier than others, but
sure,
we got there. And it's not only about today, it's about where we're going to be tomorrow, 5 years from now. Do you do it now in preparation for that? That is one of the benefits of having a network that's the vast majority of which, close to 90%, is fiber optic. We are prepared for the future. You said a moment ago that we've always been kind of forward thinking. We were running fiber and laying fiber before, I don't want to say before fiber was cool, but this is something we've been doing for some time. That has set us to the position that making offerings like this become available.
Makes sense, because you've got to have that foundation to be able to do it. If somebody obviously with a lot of copper, a lot of fixed wireless, something like that, they're not going to be able to make that offer to be able to do it.
Especially you mentioned,
sure, yeah, and that's a big piece of it. We've got you mentioned the education piece earlier, and it's interesting to me. I've been around the industry coming up on 14 years now, and I can remember when it was the educational effort to get people to understand this word gig. And I think we're still, in some areas, we're still working on that. I always remember there was somebody early on that said they treated a gig like a Hemi, and nobody knows what a Hemi is. I mean, it has the shape of the valve is hemispherical instead of whatever. Nobody knows what a Hemi is. They just know their buddy's truck has it, and so they want their truck to have it. And that's the way a lot of folks have treated a gig for a while, is that, you know, it's really fast. That's all you need to know. What kind of educational effort do you think, are y'all there yet? Does everybody know what a gig is, or do you think we still have a ways to go, or do they even need to?
I think it really depends on the person that we're speaking to, right? When we're having a conversation with a prospect, a prospective member, or somebody, there are folks where we can talk gig, we can talk symmetrical speeds, we can talk fiber, and there's other folks that we're going to have to explain what it is. So that could be 100 different conversations. Look, I can remember, I don't want to make myself sound old, but I can remember explaining to people why you could still be on the phone and use DSL on your computer at the same time without disconnecting your internet connection.
Yeah.
It's an evolutionary process, but folks are adapting. You know, I spoke to one lady. I love telling the story. There's a woman that we were talking to about speeds, and she looked at me and she said, you know, when email first became a thing, I thought to myself, why would I use email? I either just send them a letter or I go down the block and talk to them. I don't understand why we would need this. And then she paused for a minute and she looked at me and she said, my litter box is on Wi-Fi today. She said, I never thought I'd see that change. That's what we're looking at. That woman, folks like her, it's evolutionary. I tell folks who are a little older who need the coaxing, look, you've been through it all. You've been through rabbit ears, cable box, wires, VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. You've adapted to it all. You have to understand now streaming is here. With the streaming, you need the speeds, you need the bandwidth that they provide to run your home. The internet is now the backbone of your home.
It's true. And we don't have the litter box, but I know that I've got a son, teenager now here playing Fortnite all the time. And, whether it's gaming, whether it's all the smart home stuff, you're right. It's everywhere. So,
yes.
You were talking about it earlier, the speeds, and nobody wants a slower one. My favorite ever was a North Dakota telco that had their speed offerings were slow. And this is what they called the packages: slow, medium, fast, and faster. And they said that was the way that they were able to get everybody up from the slow, is when everybody called, I'd like your cheapest package. Okay, I'll sign you up for our slow package. Oh, no, wait, hold on. I don't want that. It's the idea that once people understand it, nobody wants slow internet.
There's some brilliance to that. There really, really is.
Yep. So I guess if we're looking at this, the time frame of rolling something like this out, just pull the curtain back for us a little bit. You said April 1st is when it started, which is an interesting day to launch a new product, being an April Fool's Day. But how far back were y'all working? When did this start? Talk us through a little bit of the time frame on an organization like HTC. How long does it take to get to the point where you're rolling something like this out?
Conversations on this probably started early Q3 the year before, right? So we're probably talking maybe July, August of 2024, where we knew, okay, it's time. We have to look around. I've been with the co-op for going on 6 years now. When I started, we were at 100 meg. Shortly after I arrived,
for the low speed,
for our entry level, it was 100.
Okay, 100
meg. I'm sorry. And then in 2020, we went to 300 meg. Now, 300 meg was a respectable speed. It was on the top of the offering in the market. We've always tried to stay up there or ahead of the competition. And then, we went to 500 meg, which was kind of unheard of in, I guess it was late 22. So it's an evolutionary thing with HTC. Look, we both know that we're 1 and 2 gig now. I don't know what the timeline is, but we have to know that with XGS-PON in our network, 5 gig, 10 gig is down the road. I don't know what years those are. I don't know what applications will demand that, but it's something that we all know is going to happen. There's an overbuilder, an ISP that recently conducted in Charlotte some successful 50 gig tests. This was just last week. 50 gig tests over fiber. I won't name them, but very progressive, newer company that's doing a lot of good work. So when you talk about, oh, well, nobody would need a gig, or why do we need speeds like that? Well, to put it in perspective, somebody's testing 50 gig.
Yeah. I was going to go to the business plans because we're mainly talking about residential, but you brought up competition, which was somewhere else I was gonna hit. Have y'all seen the competition in the area respond? I don't know how much you want to get into any of that, but have you noticed they talk about things different or change up their packages or anything?
I've not yet seen a change in their packages. I've heard a lot of trash talking.
Okay.
So when suddenly somebody comes out with that Hemi that you referenced a moment ago, and you're still driving the 4-cylinder Pinto, watch the gas tank, you got to talk some trash to the Hemi.
Makes sense. That makes
throw that analogy in there, and I'm not comparing the competitor to a 76 Pinto, but they're leaking oil. What?
Well, when you thought trash talk, we discovered earlier that Jeff is a Mets fan and I'm an Atlanta Braves fan, and so I was afraid that's where the trash talk was headed. But I guess we'll save that for another podcast. So we mentioned most of what we've been talking about so far has been on the residential side. Have y'all made changes on the business, the commercial side at all, or is that still the same?
They are coming. By the time this airs, there's probably going to be some changes there as well. We started on the residential side, get this out, and business is close behind.
Okay, got it. Last thing I had for you, and it's the way that I wrap up a lot of these podcasts. What advice do you have for folks maybe who are in the shoes where y'all were? Maybe it's not the one I talked about earlier with 17 different plans, but somebody who's looking at it going, this sounds like a great idea. This is the direction we need to go. What advice would you share with them as to how they get headed in the direction where y'all are?
I would say talk to your people, talk to your member base, your customers, talk to your cooperatives, right? Your neighbor cooperatives. The one thing about being a co-op that's great, I can pick up the phone and call any one of a half a dozen other co-ops and say, what are you doing? What are you looking at? What are we now? They don't all have the network that will allow them to do what we do, but at the same time, having conversations with your peers to see what's going on is always a great thing. Keep your eye on the industry. I can't overstate that enough. If you don't know what the industry is doing and what the competition is doing, it doesn't matter what you're doing because you're going to be behind. So take a look at that. When you've got your major internet companies, your Google, your companies like that, having to build brand new power plants because they need more power for what's coming. I don't know what's coming. I can't tell you what's coming, but if they need new power plants for that and everything that AI will bring, we've got to be prepared. If you're an ISP, look, we've all been using the internet for about 30 years now, but we're still in the infancy of where this is going to be 5, 10, 15 years from now. Heck, the way it changes 2 years from now, it may look different than it is now.
Could be. Yeah. Yep. Especially with as quick as some of that is moving. Good insights. Thank you, Jeff, for sharing all that with us and for being willing to pull back the curtain a little bit and let us know what things are going when you guys are talking about making a change like this. So appreciate you sharing those ideas, and I guess go Braves is how I'll wrap it up. I don't know.
You know what? I'm going to give you that one. I'm not even going to just respond to that.
Take the high road.
It'll all matter in October.
It'll all matter in October. That's
and
right.
Of course, you may be calling me back in October, but we'll wait to see.
We might
I appreciate you having me on today. I really do.
Sure thing. He is Jeff Chrzanowski, the product strategist with HTC. I'm your host, Andy Johns with Pioneer. And until we talk again, keep telling your story.
Story Connect is produced by Pioneer Utility Resources, a communications cooperative that is built to share your story. Story Connect is engineered by Lucas Smith of Lucky Sound Studio.